Dr. Doyle.
Thank you, Ron. And it's my privilege and pleasure today to talk about the medical piece. In other words, the role of the fertility doctor or the clinic with whom you would work in the United States on a surrogacy journey, and sort of how we do things and what the thought processes are. Because the good news is there's lots of choices and there's lots of control, but with those choices come important decision-making and information exchanges of ideas. And there's really three areas, and they overlap and they affect each other and they're affected by each other, primary priorities of the fertility clinic and the doctor. One of them is to maximize the efficiency of the medical piece, of the technology, to maximize pregnancy rates, to do things with the safest and most of the technology that I think everyone knows in the US has come to a very high point, whereby now when you start a surrogacy journey with an American clinic, it's not unusual. In fact, it's typical for 75% approximately of people to be successful on their first try. So with the medical technology and the quality of the technical services comes another priority, which is to minimize the risks associated with those treatments. And to do that requires a very, very active and open dialogue with the egg donor and with the surrogate and with the intended parents, because there are medicines involved and procedures involved and risks, especially of multiple pregnancy, that clinics are most mindful of. And because the technology has evolved so well, it's actually possible to very safely and effectively transfer now single embryos and still achieve pregnancies the majority of the time and minimize the exposure to multiple pregnancies, including twins, if that's not a road that you want to go down. So maximizing pregnancy rates, reducing risks as much as possible, and number three, and this is something I assure you in the United States we're very aware of, is controlling costs, because we well understand that with the higher pregnancy rates and the safer, more controlled treatments come more multiple moving parts that have to be attended to and have to be attended to carefully. You'll talk to lots of clinics today, or maybe find more through other avenues. I encourage you to learn about many of the approaches that all of us on this panel and around the room have taken to offer shared cycles, for example. You know, if you're a single dad and you want one baby one time, you really don't need necessarily to invest financially or even emotionally in a complete egg donation cycle. There are options that enable you to take a portion of some eggs from one cycle and save money and still achieve your goal. On the other hand, if you're a two-dad family, and this would be one of the first things that you would talk about with your doctor in your clinic and your agency and your attorney, where do you want to end up? If you're two dads and you're open to twins and you might even want siblings and you're looking for long-term success based on the first embryo, then you would be rightfully encouraged to not do one of the shared cycles, or maybe not use a small group of frozen eggs, but to use a donor who's not only going to produce, on the average, 15 to 20 eggs, but maybe she's donated before a few times. And in the United States, we often have access to the medical records of the prior donations. So when you're picking your donor based on all the things you'll choose her on, medical and genetic and personal qualities, sometimes weaving in the type of outcome that you're looking for and correlating that with maybe a donor who frequently has 2 embryo transfers and always gets twins, really that might be a reason to lean in one direction toward a donor and not another. But again, through the theme, I think, of today, we're all going to talk about U.S. surrogacy and the ways in which we maximize efficiency and control, address and control cost issues, and minimize the costs whenever possible. So if you were going to get started, you would start at any number of multiple moving parts, but at some point you would meet with a fertility doctor, and we would ask you the issues relevant to your goals. As I said, 1 sperm source, 2 sperm sources, twins. How many embryos that will be chosen for transfer is a critical discussion with parents and with in surrogates as well. And agencies are very careful to match surrogates who are more ideal for a single embryo transfer and minimal risk of twins from a single embryo transfer with an intended parent or a set of intended parents who are exactly aligned with that goal. So if you decide from speaking to the clinic and the agency that egg donation and surrogacy is right for you, that biological genetic parenthood is a high priority, and some of the other options that are available like adoption or make less sense for you, you will quickly be introduced to the screening process and the choices involved with an egg donor and a surrogate. The medical piece of screening egg donors and surrogates looks to specifically the roles that each of these women will play. They're very different roles biologically. The egg donor is going to be young, which is always between 20 and 30, usually closer to 20 than 30, because the younger women in general tend to have higher quality eggs that lead to higher quality embryos that result in maximum success rates. And not surprisingly, the screening, and again, this is where costs come in, are related to medical screening, extensive genetic screening, infectious disease screening, psychosocial screening, all the things that are essential for someone to be, in our country, deemed eligible to be either an egg donor or a sperm donor. In my clinic, we strongly encourage non-anonymous donation, and more clinics in the US do that, so that the concept that you want to meet your egg donor either while you're choosing between potential donors or at the time of the donation, do you want to have a relationship in the short term or possibly even the long term, are all things that would be relevant to the choice of the egg donor that you're looking at. Now, because the surrogates don't contribute genetic information, of course they carry the baby, we're looking at a different subset of characteristics. We're doing screening tests that are not focused on ovarian function and egg quality, but are focused on the uterus and the woman's ability to carry pregnancies, which we can predict from her previous pregnancies, which is why extensive record reviews are essential. And we can also evaluate in real time based on tests that she will go through, so that when you are ultimately matched to your carrier, these things have already happened. These screening tests and these pre-approvals by the medical facilities that work closely with the agencies will have set into motion presentations to you of various egg donor candidates and surrogacy candidates who we already feel good about. So that when you start the connecting process and reaching out process and getting to know them, it's not with 100% certainty, but it's relatively close to that this will be a match that will maximize your success rate and minimize discrepancies in not only the type of journey that you want to take together, but some critical medical decisions, including the number of embryos to transfer.
Thank you. Thank you.